we saw in 2022, 2023 would be nothing compared to the rains that we would see in 2024. And I guess we're not seeing the manifestation of that warning. It's only sad that despite the warning we had months ago, that we were not necessarily able to do anything to mitigate the kind of impact that it is having on individuals, even businesses and pupils at this time. But then again, like I said earlier, our heart goes out to the family of the students that died yesterday because of the heavy rains, who drowned and was swept away by the flood. So please be very, very careful. A lot of these gullies are submerged, so you don't even know where's the right place to put your leg. And if you see that the water is overwhelming, I think you should send a message to your employers that you'll be unable to make it. I believe employers are very, very understanding at this time. Some of them even advised their workers to work remotely yesterday and not bother to come into the office. Keep your children at home. Missing one day of school is not going to have that much of a drastic impact on their scores or their examination. I'm sure schools will reschedule. So please be very, very careful. I just thought to start the show that way after I read the unfortunate passing of that boy Joshua yesterday. Well, welcome to Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. My name is Sage Babalola. This is the Morning Express, and right now we're about to get into trends in the papers, where we basically keep you up to speed with trends that have been reported on the front pages of our dailies. We have The Guardian, we have The Vanguard, and we have Punch newspaper. In no particular order, we would be reviewing the news reports that we have, and we'll be providing you with in-depth analysis so you get a better understanding of these stories. We're streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube, so do well to join our socials and use the live chat option to drop your submissions. Fouad Said joins us now as we begin conversations on the stories that have been reported on the front pages of our dailies. Fouad, good morning. How are you doing today?
Yeah, good morning, Sage. I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you, Fouad.
Yeah, okay. I just listened to you, of course, giving advice on how to deal with flash flood, high waters and the dangers that comes with it. Very pathetic to know that, I think a boy drowned yesterday.
Yes.
In one of the cases that I think you said it already. You should not be desperate to want to wade through a high water or flash flood. I also see car owners trying to drive through. I don't know why anybody wants to take us to a position when you are not even sure of the depth of the water. It's not even about the pedestrians, people moving on their legs. Cars can be washed away.
Yeah.
Depending on the flow and the strength and tide of the water. So apart from that, you don't even want to damage your cars. Fixing cars now becomes very, very expensive. There was this joke on social media yesterday that mechanics are now very happy, because a lot of people have to bring their cars in for repairs. But again, there's a lot that I think we need to do, especially Lagos, when it comes to this issue of flooding. You can't just have a few hours of rain and then the whole city is flooded. Businesses are quite full. It's almost like a standstill. That was the situation of Lagos yesterday. In almost major parts of Lagos yesterday, everything was held to a standstill. Normally journeys that should take you like 5-10 minutes took 2-3 hours, and a lot of people have to turn back home. Like you said, some employers even advise their workers to work remotely. But again, the Lagos State government has said that efforts are being made to clear drainages, open up more channels for water to drain away from our communities. But we hope that we'll get more intentional about these things and fix it.
Hopefully it was a terrible thing yesterday, very, very terrible. But then let's get into the stories that we have for today. We have The Guardian, Punch and Vanguard. Like I said earlier, we might as well begin conversations with The Guardian newspaper. We sort of have a report here about the school pupil that was swept away yesterday. School pupil swept away, commuters stranded, property submerged in Lagos, Ogun downpour. I think that's more or less the most significant story across all the papers at this time, and fortunately we've been able to open the program with that. So let's move on to other stories here. Worries as e-waste import rises, more Nigerians resort to use items. That is the story that we have as the top story on the front page of The Guardian newspaper, and let's look at that particular story. I apologize, I'm using the e-version. So we have riders to this. Invisible e-waste hits $10 billion in essential raw materials recoverable. 60,000 tons of used equipment shipped to Lagos port yearly. Experts allege weak inspection. Seek enforcement of Basel Convention. Stakeholders seek incentive for recycling firms, manufacturers. Now, with the high inflation and economic meltdown weakening the purchasing power of Nigerians, many have jettisoned brand new electronic products and are relying more on second-hand items, thereby increasing electronic waste in the country. The Guardian gathered that the current trend has also increased the importation of used electronic equipment into the country, which are mostly discarded products that have reached the end of life cycle. Over 500,000 tons of discarded appliances are processed in the country every year, threatening both the health of people in the informal recycling industry and the nation's environment. And according to Basel Action Network study, in conjunction with the BBC Nigeria, the country imported about 500,000 used computers yearly through the Lagos port alone, and that figure has increased with the turn of events. So far, they're talking about the hazards of recycling e-waste that is coming from outside the country. So basically, people are no longer buying electronic products in Nigeria because it's too expensive. So they're rather importing, and most of the items that they're importing into the country are substandard. They have reached end of life cycle, and so because they cannot be used, we have to recycle it. We have to find a way to dispose it, and the disposal process that we're using is detrimental to the health of people, and the e-waste is now becoming a problem even to us. So in a bit to solve the problem of not being able to afford electronic appliances here in the country, we import bad ones, and when it's not usable, we have to find a way to dispose it, and we're disposing it poorly. That's the problem that we're in right now, Fuad.
Well, I think our regulators, I think the customs would have to also step up, on this. Again, I don't think there's any way we're going to stop the importation of this electronic, what you call Tūkūmbō electronics.
Yeah.
The brand new ones stage are way out of the reach of ordinary Nigerians. I'm sure ordinary Nigerians can really not afford some of these things. The brand new ones, television sets, computers, phones, that used to be very affordable. When I say affordable, at least something that ordinary Nigerians could afford has become very, very expensive. Look at flat screen TVs, for example, 32 inches. Maybe like a year ago, say, any of the common brands, at least would sell for maybe like 170-something thousand, 150K. I'm sure now a 32-inch, HD TV flat screen will be going for like, I think it can be less than 250,000 to 300,000 naira. And of course, people would either go for the Tūkūmbō that will sell for maybe like 120, 130, 150, more like what you used to buy, the cost of buying the brand new ones, But again, the problem here is that, look, again, most of these things are brought into the country. You can't really check whether they are even useful. Some of them have been brought in as scrap. So what you find is that if you get to Alaba, for example, the electronic market, you see that as they bring it in, they bring it out, they are not even sure whether those things will work, so they try to fix it here. So the ones they are able to fix, they sell. The ones they are not able to fix, they have to dispose. And so that's what these stories are like here. So we have that problem of e-waste now, electronic waste, as a result of gadgets that have been brought in that are unusable, and we have to now begin to find a way to deal with how to dispose them. Unfortunately, we don't have a proper recycle arrangement here. If you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We don't really have that facility to recycle some of this waste. So it becomes a problem. Environmental hazard is also one of the things that the story is highlighting. So again, if you look at the whole story, it talks about our economic reality. It talks about the fact that it's not as if Nigerians really want to buy some of these things, but they really have no choice. And then, when it comes to inspection, the people are supposed to check as these things come into the country, they are not really on top of their game, and so we have a problem there. By the end of the day, if people have improved living conditions, if they are more economically empowered, I'm sure will not be a dumping ground to some of these items.
Right. Well, that particular story you would find on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. We're still live on Facebook and on YouTube, so please join our live stream. Use the live chat option to start dropping your submissions as we get through each story, owing to the fact that today is Open Mic Thursday. Moving on to other stories, the EFCC had quite a lot to say over the last couple of days, and the headline here: EFCC accuses public servants of diverting MDA's unspent allocations, warns against protest around offices. Now, the chairman, Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC), Olukoyede, has revealed that public servants in different ministries, departments and agencies are moving unspent budget allocations to private accounts in commercial banks. I would like to actually highlight some of the things that he said. Yes, I really like us to highlight some of the things he said. Now, according to Olukoyede, the funds were always wired to banks at midnight before the end of every budget cycle. He decried the magnitude of stealing by corrupt elements in the country, especially stealing of unspent allocation in government agencies. He says, and I quote now, "When I look at some case files and see the humongous amount of money stolen, I wonder how we're still surviving. If you see some case files, you will weep. The way they move the unspent budget allocation to private accounts in commercial banks before midnight at the end of budget cycle, you will wonder what kind of spirit drives us as Nigerians. A situation where somebody would hold a public office or position of trust for years and you call him to account and he refuses is unacceptable," end of quote. That's just one part of the story. I'd like us to take it one after the other. So Fuad, I want you to react to this, and I read word for word what he said, so it's not like we're the ones who are making this assertion. So this is what the EFCC head had to say about a movement or funds into private accounts, especially by the MDAs.
Sage.
Yes.
I hope and I think that Pastor Olukoyede understands that Nigerians are not going to rate his performance as the head of the EFCC by him coming every time to tell us stories. A lot of these stories he's telling us already know. I don't think any Nigerian will tell you we don't know we have a problem with corruption, whether it's the civil service, whether in government or what have you. We already know that we have a problem with corruption. It's endemic. It's part of us, the big problem, and that's why the EFCC was formed in the first place, to deal and change this monster of corruption. And so, what I've seen the EFCC chairman, who now I think enjoys to speak with the media, do every time he comes up with some of these things, is just tell us story. We want to hear what he's doing about it, who is arresting, who is prosecuting, and how far he's going and succeeding with those prosecutions. That's what Nigerians want to hear. What he has said now in this story is not anything new. It's something that has always happened, where unspent allocations are moved. Because here in Nigeria, he said that, look, you mustn't come with a closing balance that's left with money. You must spend everything so far it is allocated. If you don't spend everything, the next time they look at your budget and say, oh, that you really don't need money.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Why are you coming up with a balance? Why are you returning money? If you return money, next time you defend your budget, they tell you the last time you didn't finish everything gave to you. So people just move the money. Whether they move it at night, the fact that they are moving it. And if he has information and details of people doing these things, let him go after them.
Well,
let him do his job.
I'm sorry.
Tell us story.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but he did say that sometimes in trying to probe these individuals, they don't respond. So that it's.
You know what?
These people don't respond when you try to call them.
So what should we ordinary Nigerians do about that?
I mean, I don't think there's anything we can do, but he's probably just telling us why
they don't respond.
It's difficult.
So is he saying he's not capable of doing the job? Is he already telling us Nigerians that, look, I don't think I can do this job?
Oh, I wouldn't know the answer.
If that is what he's telling us, then we'll take it and understand that, look, Pastor Olukoyede is overwhelmed. He wants to do the job, but doesn't have the capacity to do it. Then we already know that, okay, what then do we do? Because these tales of lamentation, it will not solve any problem. He looks like a man who has good intentions, but does not have the capacity to do the job. We are still looking for Yahaya Bello. Have we seen it?
I mean, the case of Yahaya Bello, you can see what played out, right? The accusations hold on, for just give me a minute, okay? I'm not. This is not a defense of any kind. I just want to put all of the facts.
We're having a conversation.
Exactly. With the case of Yahaya Bello, I mean, there were accusations that the state governor was involved, and the fact that he has immunity, maybe Yahaya Bello is enjoying immunity by proxy, and hands of the EFCC are tied. That as a case study, you can understand what he means by obstruction, right?
Okay, so we're dealing with obstruction, or we don't know where Yahaya Bello is, so the EFCC is still, looking for it. Okay, but again, what we are saying here is that the more serious. Again, we have several case files before 𝐴 or former governors. A lot of them don't have immunity again. What has he done about those cases? What does he intend to do about those cases of former governors? Well over 20 of them who have well-established corruption cases against them. The files are there, I'm sure, on the table, on somewhere in the building of the EFCC. What is he doing about them? And that is why Nigerians are worried that, look, the EFCC suddenly has become an agency to run after Yahoo boys. They know how to break the doors of hotels to pick Yahoo boys. Can they just also break the doors of politicians and get them out of wherever they hide? This civil servant is talking about moving funds. Do they have immunity?
No.
So if he says they are not responding, how? Has he made an attempt to arrest them? Are they resisting arrest? Or there are people that can never be touched? Are we talking about the monsters that we can never touch? That's what I'm saying. Say, if we need to break down doors, open roofs to get these guys who are killing the country, we should do it. If that's what we are doing to these small boys, Yahoo and the rest, we should also be able to do it to the big boys, who are even the big Yahoo boys. Why those ones use internet and what have you? These ones are changing figures, moving monies around. So what's the difference? What I'm just saying is that, look, I like when public officials come to the public place to mention these things. Because again, when you tell us these things, the first thing that comes to my mind is that, okay, these things you are telling us, and what do you want us to do about it? Okay, just for the sake of, you should know that I'm trying my best, but as it is, I'm overwhelmed. Is that the story?
Fuad, speaking of cybercrime and the effort of the EFCC to abate cybercrime, the EFCC actually also raised an alarm over plans to instigate protest against it, warning that it will not tolerate any form of protest around its offices. Dele Oyewale, the spokesperson for the EFCC, raised the alarm yesterday and disclosed that there's a group who have been actively campaigning on social media and recruiting impressionable young Nigerians, including students, to take up arms against the commission. I believe this whole movement started when you saw the viral video that trended when certain EFCC officials went to a hotel. I don't know if it's at Ojo or I can't remember the place. Exactly. And there's video evidence that they assaulted people at the hotel. They just picked everybody. There was no. Some even say that there was no form of identification. There was no form of identification. They were wearing mufti. So I don't know who you are. You just badge in. You assault me. You drag me and put me in a van and take pictures of me and post it on
social media. Story of a particular wedding. I think somewhere in the state where people were picked up, harassed, and all of. So you see, this issue of protest, they modeled it up.
Right.
And I think it's deliberate. Are you talking about people planning a protest against the operations of the EFCC when it comes to harassment, when it comes to abuse of the fundamental rights of people? If people want to protest on that basis, they have a right to protest. So far they remain peaceful and orderly with their protest. Nobody can stop anybody from protesting. It is one of the rights of the people in a democracy. And if there are people who feel concerned about the operations of the EFCC, when it comes to this escapo manner by which they arrest people, harass people, some of the misbehaviors of their officers, I am saying that the chairman cannot stop that kind of protest. In fact, they cannot be protest in front of their office. So far they remain peaceful. It's about lending their voice. And nobody can guide anybody for speaking against what they consider as injustice. So that's a right that Nigerians have, and I think the EFCC must be well aware of that we are operating a democracy. But if they not pick up arms, it becomes another thing. So that's why I'm saying that, are they talking about a protest or people that are planning to pick up arms? Protesters don't bear arms, right?
Right. It's placards.
And they bear placards. They use megaphones and continue to push their thoughts through as to whether there's an harassment or what. So, but those that pick up arms are criminals, and those ones should be dealt with as criminals. Because you are not supposed to bear arms. If you take up arms against the state, institutions, agencies, or whatever, that you are not protesting, you are a criminal. So they should separate it. If there are people who want to protest, it would be nice for the chairman and his officials to listen to those protesters and address their concerns. We operate a democracy. For those that pick up arms, those ones should be dealt with as common criminals.
Right. Well, it's on page 4 of the Guardian newspaper. Moving on to other story, and well, in a way, speaking of arms, page 5 of the Guardian reports that again, custom intercepts 1.6 billion naira worth of rifles, military fatigues from Turkey. I don't know what's going on with Turkey. I don't know when Turkey became the arms central of the world. So why everybody's buying arms from Turkey? But anyways, the story says the Nigeria Customs Service Murtala Mohammed Area Command intercepted different military and paramilitary accoutrements illegally imported and recovered 55 pieces of unassembled Joseph Magnum Tomahawk semi-automatic shotguns emanating from Turkey. That was a mouthful. Yes. And the service added that the arms had a duty paid value of 271 million naira, while the total value of the various contraband stood at 1.568 billion naira. And in a statement on Wednesday, the Comptroller General of Customs, Adewale Adeniyi, whilst addressing journalists at the command in Ikeja, stated that a suspect has been arrested in connection with the illicit arms importation, and the suspect is currently assisting with the ongoing investigation to uncover the perpetrators of this heinous crime. Fouad, only a few days ago, 18 billion naira worth of arms, about 4 billion in customs duty payment, I beg your pardon. And today we have about 1.6 billion worth of arms, and they actually did go on ahead to pay 271 million in duty payment. I don't understand what's going on. For the fact that it's first things first is the brazenness with which they're bringing in these items, using the port, actually paying the duties like it's just regular commodity. I appreciate the fact that custom is actually taking their money first of all before intercepting them. I appreciate their money and intercept them, and then I'm glad they've been able to make arrests as well. What do you think about this proliferation of small arms from Turkey, first of all?
Well, again, I think we have to commend the Nigerian custom for moving ahead of these criminals. I think it's also nice to know that, look, the customs just, keep calm, wait for them, bring in these things, make them pay what they are supposed to pay, and then just intercept it. So they lose these things and also lose a lot of money.
Yeah.
But again, these are the disclosures. These are the ones who have been able to intercept. So you know those ones have been able to go through, But again, there's this international black market for arms and ammunition. Right. I'm sure it's not the government of Turkey that will be selling these things.
Obviously.
When it comes to arms and ammunition, you have this. There's of course an open market, more like a black market for these things where you can shop for these things. So again, we need to ask ourselves, what are the intentions of people bringing this number of ammunition? You understand what I'm saying? What we saw, 18 billion worth of rifles and ammunition in Port Harcourt, in Rivers State, just a few days ago. It goes to show that, look, this is a big criminal syndicate. The network is big. It has to be a very big, because look at the money they are even using to bring in this thing.
Right.
The manner by which they are bringing it in, the brazenness too should tell you something about the people behind this thing. You understand what I'm saying? If they had gone through the land border, for example, to try to see some of these things in, but for them to have this, again, there must have been some crack in their wall.
Right.
For these things to have been intercepted. Because for you to be so brazen, you do it with so much confidence and impunity to bring these things through the regular port. It goes to show that these are people who have some high level of connection. To what level we don't know. But there's something serious about the intentions of people bringing this amount of weapons into the country. And again, that can also buttress the reason why we have this widespread insecurity in different parts of the country. Right. Where people are bringing ammunition worth billions of naira into the country, and they are even willing to pay billions to clear them in a regular port. it's scary, really. See, if you look at the entire thing, that's what I'm saying. That look, this is a big criminal syndicate. There are people who are saying that look, there's no way we are going to exonerate or totally take away some of our politicians from these things too. See, some of the back and forth amongst them, this desperation to hold on to power, all of this nonsense structure that we keep talking about. The can't take my structure, I think your structure, who is in charge, who is not in charge. This desperation to continue to steal from Nigeria. These things are going to begin to breed all of these types of things we are seeing. Because at the end of the day, they have their foot soldiers who are going to be causing all of this chaos and crisis in different parts of the country. I think it was on Monday. I read a story. I think it was as far back as 2019. I'm saying that look, I'm not saying that story is related to what has just happened or the recent discoveries and interceptions by the Nigerian custom.
Yeah.
But in 2019, as the former governor of the state was leaving office, Senator 𝐴𝐵 said he handed over about 1,000 AK-47 to the Nigerian police, which he said had been kept in the government house, but as he was leaving, he wanted to give it to the police. What was he keeping that amount of guns for as a governor in the government house? And how many rounds of bullets that he handed over to the police? At that time, he was just leaving. He said he had bought it and it was kept in the government house. For what? As the governor. And he didn't give it to the police as the time he was buying it until when he was now leaving office. I'm not saying that story is related to what is happening now. I'm just saying that can we begin to think about some of these things?
Right. Fuad, this particular story is on page 5 of the Guardian newspaper. This is still trends in the papers on mainland FM. My name is Sage Babalola. You just heard the voice of Fuad Side. We're analyzing the stories on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. Thank you to everyone who's currently on our live stream. We appreciate you and we acknowledge you. You can start dropping your submission actually via Facebook, the live stream, using the live chat option. But we still have a number of stories to go through. Do well to check us out on YouTube as well. The handle is the same at mainland 98.3 FM. We're still looking at the Guardian newspaper. We recently just analyzed the story on page 5, talking about customs intercepting 1.6 billion naira worth of rifles and military fatigues from Turkey. We have another story here, Fuad. Band A users. I'm really sorry for everything you're going through. But the NERC has raised...
They're the big boys. They're the big boys.
I'm so sorry for what you're going through. Well, NERC raises tariff for Band A by 1.3% amid calls for reduction. That is your new reality at this time. But let's look at the story. Yes, we have the rider here. Ikeja Electric adds 13 Band A feeders to the network. They should just not add me, because that's where there will be problem. Nigeria, God forbid, in Jesus' name. And I don't want to.
You don't want 24 hours power.
Fred, I'm hardly at the house. We're almost here all the time. So what's the point?
Your fridge is cool.
I don't think many things. I don't. Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission (NERC) has announced a 1.3% increase in tariffs for Band A consumers, as captured in the multi-year tariff supplementary order (MYTSO). This decision comes amid calls for tariff reduction by labor unions and other Nigerians, who argue that the economic burden on consumers is already high enough. So the new tariff adjustment will actually see the rate increase from 206.80 kilowatts per hour to 209.50 kilowatts per hour, and they're justifying this increase to address financial challenges in the power sector and also improve the quality of supply. Yes, the forex crisis as well. So this increase was necessitated by the fact that we have to find a way to keep operating, and the forex crisis is affecting us. So the only way for us to be able to maintain this quality of service that we're given to you is to ask that you pay more. So that's the reality of the Band A consumers at this time. Labour has actually started protesting the increase though, but the part that really moves me forward is the fact that this particular adjustment is effective immediately. It's one of the complaints. You put out a policy and then you effect it immediately. I don't know if that's the method for policy implementation, or I'm missing something.
No, we're in a situation where nobody cares. There's this level of impunity and the lack of accountability that has gotten to a point where the if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
See, again, there's a part of this story I think that should concern Nigeria. This idea of dollarizing, the cost of electricity in Nigeria. Because again, majorly what they are saying again is that look, the naira has also been dollar continues to appreciate against the naira. It means that tariff has to go up. And so what they are saying is that this will affect the band 8 customers. So from around 206 per kilowatt, we are moving it to around 209.5. And what Lɪධᴇ is saying that we are still protesting even the one that you have done.
Right.
We are increasing it again. The one that you've done, we are saying you should bring it down. We are still protesting that. It's even one of the demands of organized labor, to government. And you are going ahead to still increase the tariff that we're already complaining about. But again, like I said, if you look at the body language of the regulator, you look at the statement coming out from the mouth of the minister. I think a day or two ago, we were still talking about the fact that, look, what Nigerians are spending on alternative sources of power, like generators, diesel, buying of petrol, was around 20 trillion naira. Whereas, in the public power sector, the entire value chain from generation to transmission and distribution, they hardly make about 1 trillion naira. And I'm saying, who are you blaming for that? Hey, who are you blaming? And he said that, they don't even mind if they get about 25% of that, quarter of that, in the public sector when it comes to power generation, transmission and distribution. I said, look, the reasons why Nigeria would prefer to go and spend money on diesel, buy their own generators and provide their own power. And I will say again, that in what he's even saying, he has not even captured what we call this, green energy, solar, inverters and what have you. If you look at what Nigerians are also spending now to provide, buy solar panels, buy inverters, I'm sure it will be maybe around that 10 trillion against me. But Nigerians are happy to do that because at least they can guarantee that they will have power, there's adequate power. And they can't wait for the government to continue to flip-flop on their service to them. So instead of the minister, focusing on service delivery and how to ensure that the service is available before he begins to talk about cost, he's talking about cost before service. And that's why one of the arguments of labor is that, look, the government keeps arguing about cost reflective tariff, not service reflective tariff. Say, before you charge me and make me pay through my nose for something, shouldn't the service be available?
Right.
And effectively delivered? When the service is available, and I'm sure that, look, come rain, come sunshine, the service will be available for me, you can begin to now justify the reason why I have to pay more. But not in a situation where the service is not available, or you keep telling me that I have to pay more, whereas the service is not even available. And for the band, justify why we have to pay this much. That argument has not been met. You keep arguing that a dollar, blah, blah, blah. So, if dollar now comes down, are they going to review the tariff downward?
I doubt that very much. Probably. I mean, we never can tell.
We should be able to tell. Let's have a clear idea of how even this tariff is calculated. What are the indices justifying what Nigerians are paying? And remember, we keep talking about inflation.
Yes.
Their own economics now, the only thing they do is to increase interest rates. You know that this electricity tariff is also one of the reasons why we have this high inflation. Cost of production is going up. A lot of the manufacturing companies who are on this band A, what are they going to be doing with the cost of their product and service? A lot of service providers, hospitals are charging people heavily now for healthcare delivery because some of them who are in band A, look at the doctor that said that, look,
20 million.
From 5 million, they bought in 20 million. How is he going to do that? For things you are saying, you'll be saying you are tackling inflation. Where are the things causing inflation? You keep pushing it up. You say you want to fight inflation. Whereas there are things that are even leading to this inflation that you are not looking at. And that was why Dangote told us yesterday that, look, the prescription from IMF, World Bank, and all of these other people that you must increase your interest rate to tackle inflation shows that we are not even looking at our own local peculiarity. They, as a result of the intervention they did during COVID, made more money available than goods and services. So they needed to do something about it. Did you do that during COVID? Even the palliative that we told our politicians to share, they kept it in warehouses until people go into those warehouses to take it by themselves.
Well, that particular story you would find on page 5 of the Guardian newspaper. Fuad, if you don't mind, I'd like us to up our pace a little bit so we're able to get through the major stories here. On to other stories. We have Senate rejects motion to probe security fund used for yacht others. The Senate has rejected a motion seeking to investigate into the misuse of security fund to halt their diversion towards building of universities and the purchase of yacht. It also raised the matter. It was actually Senator Adams Oshiomhole that raised that particular prayer of some sort, that the Senate Committee on Army and Armed Forces should ensure that we do not just provide money to the armed forces, but we should guard jealously what they use the money to procure. And under the supervision of oversight of the National Assembly, that previous service chiefs spent this money to build universities in their various communities. We had got to
in their own names too.
Their own names.
So they now own universities.
Exactly. So, 𝐴ᴏ Akpabio, president of the Senate, was very uncomfortable with that particular declaration of Adams Oshiomhole, and he had a response, and this is what he had to say about that. I'm quoting now. He says, did they build personal universities or public universities? He queried. Adams Oshiomhole as well expressed displeasure to that statement. 𝐴ᴏ Akpabio further says that just last year, when we were doing the supplementary budget, we saw that the Navy brought up the issue of the yacht. Were we prepared to buy a yacht? This is why the oversight responsibility of the Senate is extremely important to prevail on the armed forces, to prioritize in a manner that coincides with what we think. He's also very uncomfortable with accusations that the former service chiefs diverted funds that were meant for security into building structures, and they say donated by somebody, a clinical initiative, somebody.
Say when we talk about system leaders, we are just faffing around, deceiving ourselves. Again, because none of these former top military officers, some of them retired now, have been investigated, probed, and found guilty of any offense. It will be difficult to, come here and nail them as being corrupt. But there are indications, there are indices that show that we should also begin to see the start of this insurgency, this widespread insecurity, and what have you. We've been putting, billions of naira, if not trillions, into the Nigerian security network at all levels, even the police, the army, and what have you. But again, there are people who are also saying that, look, the wealth that some of these military personnel, after leaving office, claim they have, it becomes so suspicious. I think it was sometime last year that the family of one of the deceased senior military officers put out a notice listing out his property. Say, a former army officer, and if you see the number of property, he had died, and I think there was a problem among the family on how to share his wealth, what he had left behind. And they listed houses, hotels, land in choice areas in Nigeria. Say, you don't understand what I'm saying? I'm not saying anybody's guilty, because none of them have been investigated and charged as corrupt. I think maybe one or two. But what I'm just saying is that, look, why is Senator Akpabio dismissing a call for probe? When you probe and you don't see anything, we know you probed and there's nothing to it. Why has he suddenly become the spokesperson, for the military? If Senator, why don't you just, the appropriate committee do your job, and then if we need to bring in the EFCC, let us do it. But again, like I said, I don't think we're actually committed and serious about tackling what I call systemic corruption in our institutions.
We're fast coming to the end of the program, but we'll still take time to discuss as many stories as we can. We have on page 29, most of the conversation, he claims that most of the conversations that we had with the other governors, from the senators, from the Lateef Fagbemi, the Attorney General of the Federation, and they were speaking about how they can reach some sort of resolution to see the release of the embattled leader of the independent. He's willing to adhere to a conditional release. It would have to accept certain terms and looking towards some sort of political solution to ensure that he's released, so that some senators or anything like that, they just went to discuss regional growth, and that's about it.
With media, when he was speaking with journalists, he said that, look, I think on Monday I met with Nnamdi Kanu, he had a conversation with him, and that he's willing to accept the conditions that will be given to him for him to be unconditionally released. You know, these conditions and unconditioned, and then but the fact is that, look, I think we've gotten to a point where we should begin to look at a political solution to this problem. You know, there have been efforts in the past. I think under President Muhammadu Buhari to release Nnamdi Kanu. I remember that leaders of thought, elder statesmen from the southeast, you know, if you look at the body language of the former president, he was not really ready to release Nnamdi Kanu. If I told them point blank, the court would have to decide. But we don't know the position of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. But again, you know, government is a continuum. They continue with the prosecution of the case. And I think that's why the Senate, I think 15 of them from South decided to see how they can secure the unconditional release of Nnamdi Kanu. I think there's not going to be an unconditional release. He would amen at his agitation against the Nigerian state, against what he calls injustice against his own people, should be done peacefully and done within the ambit of the law, within the rule of law. I've always said it. There's nothing wrong with agitation. Protest, advocacy, you know, for equity, justice. The state will respond. You will not expect equity, justice, and fairness. So again, I think we've gotten to a point for so that peace, sanity can return to the southeast. We should look at this option. I think the leader, in fact, it was the one that even brought in this amnesty that brought some sanity to the Niger Delta, the late Yaradua. So on this, if we know that, look, in a decision condition, it can actually work with the political establishment in the south. It can also be a major voice for the oppressed in the south, done peacefully, not by picking up arms against the state.
Well, that particular story you find on page 29 of the WG Lagos. We have Southeast leaders step up moves to free Nnamdi Kanu on page 10 of the Punch newspaper. Father's son remanded for allegedly stealing 75 million naira from Lagos firm is on page 5. We have Senate probes $4 billion refinery repair, hazardous diesel import. All right, it's on page 22 of the Punch newspaper. National Assembly scores federal government low on budget implementation. All right.
The part of the budget that goes to them, we even know how they do their own. Up to today, we don't know how they even say you see the problem.
It is low. It is low. Page 22 of the Punch newspaper. That's where you find the story. And custom intercepts 1.6 billion naira military wares, rifles from Turkey. And finally, we have $1.5 billion oil sector divestment deals completed, says federal government. Some of the oil rigs have been completed and they will be up for auctioning.
Oh, now they want to fight war on oil production.
Let them do their work first. If they not do it, let them do it first. That's everything we have for you for this morning. Thank you so much for coming along with us. It's 8:30. We're due for a break. We'll be back at 8:40 for Mainland Focus. It's Open Mic Thursday, so get yourself ready to talk to us about matters that you find to be most significant to you. And I'll go back to take the backlog of messages we got on Facebook whilst we're analyzing the papers. Well, thank you very much. Please be on standby. We'll have you back in 10 minutes. My name is Sage Babalola. You're listening to Mainland 98.3 FM.